so welcome to my January wrap-up part 2. This video was quite long because I read 19 books in January. I know, it's crazy. I'm so happy. But also my skin is really red because I'm sunburnt. Please ignore that. But I just wanted to do a quick intro so you know what's happening. But this is my January wrap-up part 2. Please enjoy. So the next book that I read is called Lady of Bewilderment. This one just is poetry that deals with life and existentialism, but it does so through the lens of various ladies of the religion. Is it Catholicism? I should know this. I read this kind of in a swift manner, and it was quite a long time ago, so I'm just gonna read the blurb. In clear-eyed, gutting, and sometimes sharply funny poems, Alison Pellegrin explores seismic shifts and disasters, both ecological and personal, reckoning with adolescence, climate change, floodwaters, the trials of adulthood, and the complex landscape of home. I had loved this book's capaciousness, its stealing and generosity, its heartbreak and truth. Oh, I remember now. Also, there's some poems written about the pandemic and the way that nature changed when humanity drew inward. I'll also read you a poem here, I guess. I think I gave this 3 stars because I'm looking back at some of these poems and I'm not feeling that excited about them. I guess I'll read this poem that was about the pandemic. Our Ladies of the Quarantine. As we plod through quarantine, one plus is dudes not prescribing smiles beneath our masks. We can relax, take deep breaths in down dog before breakfast to shake loose the terror of the red sky dreams. Relaxed, smiling, or not beneath our masks, we dream of solitude, of sitting in the laundromat watching the dryer spin, of waking, for once, untouched by the terror of the red sky dreamed. 2 months in, we yearn for the old monotony, the old routine, at the laundromat while the dryers spin. What's our fantasy if we are the last ones left? Something reckless or getting back to the herbalist routine? Maybe shed the yoga pants for something military, green? There's a lot of freedom for the last ones left. We could make a special trip for box wine and chocolate. We could go yogis turn survivalists dressed in green, camouflage from barefaced bandits creeping around. Now it feels sinful to shop for box wine and chocolate, to take comfort in TP rolls stashed in the closet. The barefaced bandits spread conspiracies around. When the numbers climb, they say it's no big deal. When TP dwindles and things just don't seem right, our drinking starts at noon. Things are so far gone, the numbers spike, the graph looks like a cliff, and we squander days on pedicures and yoga. Day drinking helps blur the brain, but there's no escaping portable morgues, birds rising like ashes in the sky. We wasted good lives on paintball and yoga, ignored sunsets no matter how pink the fire. Dumpster fire days, no shy smiles under the masks, no looking away from the portable morgues, cinder birds in the sky. There's no telling a sunset from the world on fire. We give in, breathe deeply, in down dog at the beginning of the end. Now I feel okay about that poem, but I just really like the last stanza, so that's why I thought I would share it. But I think they're just the poems themselves are, I think it's just okay. I think it was a good series. There were some that were really good. There were some poems that were really good, and there were some that I was just I'm just gonna move through this swiftly and get some understanding of the language and the religious trauma. Some of the lines are really good though. This one, I woke up hoping for ordinary, looking for a fight, but I tangled with mystery instead. Or a do-over of my son's birth by way of blade, so that I felt my own strength as I gasped him into the world, or my heart in a vice as another nightmare of death blast through me. Okay, that is actually really fire. Okay, maybe I'll give it 4 stars. I forget. But yeah, we have that one. And then the next book I read was Sandro Penna, Within the Sweet Noise of Life. It's translated Italian poems, and he was openly gay. These are fairly old, I forget. So his first collection of poetry appeared in 1939, and then in 1957 he was awarded one of Italy's most important literary awards. So that's pretty cool that he was writing publicly about being gay during that time. And I don't know if you can see, but the poems themselves are very short. Kind of reminded me of like Sappho's Fragments, in that there's like so much being said in such short phrases. Like this one, and none of them are titled, which is interesting. So, to sit at an unknown table, to sleep in someone else's bed, to feel the already empty square swell in tender goodbye. It was my city, the empty one, at dawn, full with one of my desires, but my love song, my most honest one, to others remained unknown. What else? When the sweet and clamorous dusk would sing across the city, blessed and ancient, sluggish caravans would carry the young workman's grimy clothes away. Unknown to all, and how much more to himself, among the smelly and sweaty clothes he loved to go in the delightful outskirts stripped. An angel, and believe me, not the one who writes today. Which that's like kind of silly. Like, okay, he's serving. He's like, this guy's an angel, and like he doesn't even know it. But like, I'm an angel too, and like I can see his divinity because I am too am from the divine. Let me see what other books I read. So the next book I read is another book I can't talk about, so we're gonna move right past that to the next book, which is I Can Fix Her by Rae Wilde. This book I absolutely loved, and I would recommend to everyone. Well, maybe not everyone, but if you like Descent into Madness, fever dream, lesbianism, this is for you. I don't want to say too much about the premise because it kind of gives away the whole book, but maybe I'll read a couple lines for you. But I actually only rated this one 3 stars. I think I just got like kind of tired of it halfway through, but like I do love this book and I would recommend it. It just like, 3 stars isn't that bad. It's just like, it is what it is. But here's like a lot, it's very much about like toxic relationships and like desire and like what desire will do to you when you can't access the love object. And so it's also like the premise is that this girl, Johnny sees her ex Alice, and she sees her out and about. She just came back from Germany because they were together and she went to Germany, and that's why they broke up. And so she came back and she sees her with another woman, and she's like, oh my God, who's that? And the whole thing was Johnny used to be kind of controlling, but Alice also didn't really seem to care about Johnny's desires. And so Johnny is like kind of stalking Alice, and then she finds her, and then Alice is like, you should come over, we should catch up. And so this is like a line from it. You're angry with me, Alice says, smoky in a way that sounds like come to bed with me. She swipes something off the rim of Johnny's glasses, a gesture disarmingly familiar, like a dance they've done 1,000 times, a waltz only the two of them know. Johnny is angry. She can't remember a time she wasn't angry with Alice. But the anger seems an isolated movement among the many steps of their dance together. Infatuation, need, and that bitter sour love come along with the anger, taking beats in time. Now that line alone feels like 5 stars. Like there are some 5-star lines in here, but just the progression of the book feels like kind of predictable. And at the end, I was just like, I don't know where this is going. Although there was one part that did surprise me, that I will not share because I don't want to spoil the book. Okay, actually, spoiler ahead. If you have read the book, feel free to listen. But Johnny like tries to kill Alice at one point. I was not expecting that because Alice seems like the toxic one for the most of the novel. Because also there's like this omniscient narrator. There's like someone who's trying to contact Johnny and we don't know who she is. I love that. I did love that. But yeah, the whole like trying to kill Alice thing kind of came out of nowhere to me, and I was like, damn, this is dark. Okay, next book I read was Tough Guy. Let's pull up the cover. Okay, so we have Tough Guy, and this is perchance the 4th novel. I think it's the 4th one in the Game Changer series, and this follows Fabian and I think Ryan Price, I believe. And Ryan Price is a defender Is that what they call in hockey? I've read all these books and watched the show and still learned nothing about hockey. All I know is this character is like, they're basically like, you have to, yeah, I think defender. He like defends the other players and he like starts a lot of fights. But he's actually like a really kind-hearted soul, and he's like afraid of flying, and they have to take all these planes, so he's like always afraid. And I do love in all these books how Ilya just like pops up and he's like, "You're gay." Only I can. What's that thing from Glee, where it's like, who's the only one who can tell you what your sexuality is? And they're like, me, and she's like, no, me, Sue Sylvester. So funny. Yeah, no, basically Ryan Price is like this big masculine guy, and this second chance romance, as a guy who never gets over anything in his life, second chance romance like kind of eats every single time. Recently I haven't been able to read it because I had some second chance actual romance in my life that literally ruined my year. Not actually, it was fine. It was fine. It was just a bad time and wasn't worth it. But this basically, Ryan Price and Fabian lived together when they were in high school because Fabian's family loved hockey and they would host these hockey players. And Fabian was like kind of standoffish at first because all these hockey players were like really homophobic to him and like made him feel like his family loved them more than him because he was really like effeminate. But Ryan was actually like a really sweet guy, and they like used to hang out, and they had this like really emotionally charged moment where they almost kissed. And basically Ryan said he wasn't like closeted. His case was really interesting. He was like, yeah, like I never tried to hide. Actually, no, I might be mixing that up with someone. I don't remember, so I'm not going to speak on it. But basically Ryan moves to a new town because he keeps being traded. It's a town in Connecticut. Not Connecticut. Oh my God. It's a town in Canada. I don't remember what town. Maybe Toronto? I'm so sorry, Canadians. But basically Ryan goes into a like pharmacy, and Fabian's a musician. He's very talented, very famous, but like his survival job is at this makeup counter, and Ryan sees Fabian and Fabian sees Ryan, and their eyes lock across the room, and they're both like, oh my God, it's him. And both of them are like, oh, but he can't mean as much as he meant to me. Like I can't mean as much to him as he means to me. But they're both like, oh my God, like they're both like kind of down bad from the jump, which I do love that. I do love a slow burn yearn where the love is there, it's just not expressed. I love that shit. And you know what, Fabian, thank you for your service, because I got these nails because of him. Because as a trans man myself, I used to love getting my nails done, and I was like, had some internalized transphobia, homophobia, and I was like, I can't wear nails now that I'm a man. And I did share about this in my Christmas vlogs, but I did press-ons for the first time since I came out 6 months ago during December, and that was really healing. And I was like, I love having my little click clackers, and sometimes they can be a little dysphoric, so I don't think I'll do it all the time, but one of my nail techs, I do have two. I'm sorry, that's so blasphemous. One of them is like my close friend, and I love their work. And then one of them is like someone I used to go to, and she does really beautiful artwork, but like she's really expensive, so I can't afford to go that often. But yeah, she did little Smiski's nails. They're so cute. But when I was sitting in the chair and she put the nails on, I was like, I've made a mistake. But then I was like, you know what? Fabian is a beautiful gay man, and he wears dresses, and he wears eyeliner, and he paints his nails. And if he can do that, I can do that too. Because I don't know that I would necessarily define myself as a twink. I feel like a lot of people just call trans men twinks because they're like, oh, how can I affirm you without ignoring the fact that you're also clearly very femme, even though if you were cis man, I'd probably just think about you as like a bisexual skater boy from Bushwick, but I'm gonna call you a twink instead, which I don't really appreciate, but I do give some elements of twink sometimes, so I would like to learn from my long history of beautiful twinks. But I love like the elements of musicality This is probably one of the top ones. I want to make another video where I rank them and tell you why, but for so far, I think it's Game Changer. And then Tough Guy and Common Goal are like together. I don't know which one is which. And then The Long Game and then Heated Rivalry, which I know it's kind of maybe an unpopular opinion to like Heated Rivalry more than The Long Game, but I just, you know, I've shared this before. I like when people can't be together in books. I love pain and I just want to feel more of it. So yeah, I don't like when they're happy, which they're not necessarily happy in in The Long Game, but yeah, that's why. The Long Game is actually like really good. I just slightly like Heated Rivalry more. Okay, next we have Common Goal. So this one was also very good. Daddy, he's like late 40s, Eric Bennett. He's a goalie, and he kind of starts flirting with Kyle. So he's closeted, and he is actually bisexual. And he had this long-term marriage with a woman, and he was like really happy with her, but they just kind of fell out of love, so they broke up. And that was like maybe a year or two ago, and like since the book starts. And Kyle is also in grad school with Kip. He's Kip's friend. He was in Game Changer. Kip like and him shared a kiss, and like Kip was really drunk and like lashing out on Scott, and Kyle, sorry, I feel like these are spoilers, but Kyle like is kind of yearning for Kip. Like when this book starts, Kyle is low-key in love with Kip, and Kip and Scott throw a party like for their engagement, and Eric is at this party and he sees Kyle and he's like, that's a snack, that's a full course meal. And he's like, but I'm really nervous because I don't know how to flirt with men. And Kyle flirts with everyone. So even though he's clearly yearning for Kip, he's like, oh, this guy's really hot, and he's like a hockey player, and like, I'm gonna flirt with him. But then he noticed that Eric's into him because he has keen senses of perception. But then he's like, oh, I think this guy's married, because he was still wearing his ring, and he's like, I think he's just like a straight married guy. And he has like some trauma with married guys who use him, especially older guys. So he has a thing for older guys, but he also has like trauma around it, so he's very hesitant. But Eric is an art collector. He loves art, and I believe he's a photographer, or maybe he's a yogi. I don't remember which. Very different things. I think he might be both. I just also read one of Ali Hazelwood's novella where the guy is a photographer, Stuck With You. So I don't remember if I'm mixing this up. But Kyle is a graduate art student, and he works at a bar or at a restaurant. No, he works at the bar that oh no, never mind. That comes later. But they basically end up in like a friends with benefits situation, and then things progress from there. And I love older men. So I do think this is like hot, and we love that. And Kyle is a cutie pie. He is a cutie pie. Okay, so next we have role model. I don't remember. Hold on, let me just look. Troy. So his name is Troy. So this one is interesting. I do think I love Rachel Reid because she talks about so many different problems of like the way the toxic hockey industry causes various men to be closeted in different ways. And Troy has been closeted because he's like, you know, he's created this like toxic masculine mask, and he has like homophobic friends, and he's been homophobic himself. He's kind of like a bully. He bullied Ryan Price when he was on his team, but basically his best friend, who's like super homophobic, his previous best friend, a bunch of things came out about like some essay allegations towards him, and Troy like immediately believes these women, and he like lashes out at this guy, and he's like, and basically he gets transferred to another team because the coach like takes the other guy's side, which is messed up. But he gets transferred to this other team, and there's this cutie pie social media manager. What's his name? Harris. Oh my god, I just like, okay, this one, I don't know, I need to redo the rankings, but role model is just cute. It's like, Troy comes to terms with his queerness, and like he ends up being friends with Harris, and then like things develop, and it's like kind of like workplace romance because he's his social media manager for his team, and like Troy is really thoughtful. There's a scene in this that some people have equated to like the Bumblebee tights scene from Me Before You, which in my opinion is the only redeemable scene in that entire movie. I hate that movie with the passion of 1,000 fiery suns. But I love this. I probably give it 5 or 4 stars. Let's see, what did I give it? Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Okay, next book, A Dowry of Blood. I read this when I was trapped in an airport through the night, because this is a kind of like dark romance gothic horror. It's about Dracula and this girl, the protagonist, Constanta, and how she's like saved from death, and Dracula turns her into a vampire. And Dracula kind of looks for like vulnerable people, and he's very toxic and like abusive in this book, so do check trigger warnings. But basically it's about her and the other vampires that he sires, and this whole like kind of bisexual toxic vampire polycule, and it's amazing. I would give this 5 stars. I think maybe I give it 4 because there were a lot of weird scenes where they kept being like, sister, I love you, and then they would have sex, and I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we calling each other sister and brother just because we have the same vampire daddy who we also have sex with? And I was like, that's kind of weird. But the writing itself, beautiful. This book was amazing. I devoured it. Like, I don't know if you can see, you kind of can't, but like I underlined so much. And it like starts out, basically they're all these letters to Dracula. Like the entire novel is written as a letter, which maybe I should bring this up in my letters class. But there's like, I think, my lord, that this is when you loved me best, when I was freshly made and still as malleable as wet clay in your hands. Or I lost myself so entirely in charting the contours of my love for you that there wasn't any room for tracking time. There wasn't any room to examine the past or the future. There was only the eternal now. And it's like this intense, like this desperate intensity of love that especially comes out of like toxic relationships. And it was like really addicting to read. And it was like she's addicted to Dracula, and like there's this sapphic yearning. There's like a sapphic yearning scene at the opera, which I can't stop thinking about. Is it Bet and Alice at the opera in the L Word? You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So next we have an offer from a gentleman. I think I gave this 2 stars. I'm a big hater of this book. This is my first time reading a Bridgerton book, and I was very hesitant because I know, like, one of the reasons I love Bridgerton so much is because it gives diversity to a period piece, which is something that a lot of people haven't done in the past. And I think the writing is low-key better in the show, except for season 3 because they used AI. I don't mess with that. But yeah, basically this is it Benedict? It's a story between Sophie and let me see, Benedict. It is Benedict. I said that earlier. But also I like the other cover, like the original cover, better than this TV show cover. But this would have been, I maybe would have even given this 3 or 4 stars if Benedict wasn't insufferable and misogynistic, and if there wasn't a scene where he literally says he wants to hurt her. Yeah, so if you go into this knowing that like that's not cool at all, then like the romance itself is very addicting to read, and it's like a Cinderella love story, but like I can't say that I recommend this. Just watch the show. It's better. There's also like that scene where like she almost gets assaulted when she's working at a place, and in the show he like attacks the guy and he gets wounded, and she like heals him, and like that's my favorite trope when someone is healing a wounded person. I don't know why. It's the whole Beauty and the Beast of it all that awakened something in me as a child. But basically, like in the show he's like threatening the guy, and he's like, if you ever touch a woman like that again, I'll make sure you're totally disgraced. And he's like physically punching him. But in the book he's just like, no, don't do it, guys, don't do it. And even at the beginning he's like, I can't believe I have to deal with this, but I would never want this to happen to my sister. He doesn't care. If, like, basically, he's like, he takes her away and he's like, yeah, I'm going to protect her. But it's basically because he was there. Like, he doesn't, like, talk the guys down or, like, say anything negative about them. He's just like, oh, like, don't do that. No. But he doesn't, like, really get mad at them at all. So it kind of just feels like he's okay with it happening to someone else. But if he's there, he will stop it. And, like, he has morals there. But, like, if he's not there, he just, like, not my problem. Which, like, we don't love that. Okay, so this is the final book we're going to end with. So we're going to finish this up. So this is a 3-part novella collection. I read the first 2 novellas. And I read this on the plane, and I read the entire time, which I kind of love being locked into a book on a plane. This is like kind of a new experience for me. But I did have to stop reading because I started getting sad. I read so much romance in the last month, and I think I read like 8 romance books, which is crazy. And my therapist actually told me to stop reading so much romance because it was making me sad. But I think I did listen to her, but then I started reading books that were like very disturbing, and that didn't help either. So I think I might go back to reading a mix of romance. But this is like a STEMinist novella collection, including Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero. And I read Under One Roof and Stuck With You. I believe I gave Stuck With You 3 stars, and Under One Roof I gave it 5 stars. I'm not going to rant about this too much because I think Hazelwood, like, you kind of know what you're getting into. She knows how to write romance. A lot of the men are kind of similar, but I don't care because I just love a big man in a novel. And basically, Stuck With You, it is like they end up in the same house and they're living together, and I love that trope when like people are in the same house. And it's really good. They like hate each other at first. It's not enemies to lovers because they're not like fighting, but it is like kind of a whole like haters to lovers. I think some people would say enemies to lovers, but I know some people get mad when you say that about like regular contemporary romance. And that one was so good. I loved it. It was like, I devoured it. It was so good. And then Stuck With You is about this couple that kind of had like a miscommunication, and they get stuck in an elevator together, and it's kind of told in like flashbacks. And that one was really good. I just like, it didn't hit as hard. I don't remember why I gave it 3 stars. I think it was like, well, I don't fully love being caught in an elevator together. I do love forced proximity, but I was like, it doesn't give me anxiety. I don't want to be stuck. But yeah, those are all the books I read this month. So thank you so much for being there with me. I know this was kind of a long one, and I hope you have a nice day and you do something nice for yourself, and maybe you read a book. Okay, bye.